When I was in college as a music major, I dropped out to go and be an organist for an evangelist, and did that for several years, played the organ on the trail. It wasn't till just in the last 5 or 6 years that I realized such a thing as theater organs existed. And I got very interested in it about the time I started coming to the meetings here at this chapter of the American Theater Organ Society. And I saw Bill Flint play the accompaniment to a silent movie. And I thought, my first thought was, that is so cool. And my second thought is, I can do that. And so I offered to play one time, and I did, and I enjoyed it, and so I've just been playing a lot of them ever since. It's a historical event. The movie came out in 1928. This organ was built in 1928. There's an excellent possibility that this movie was played for by this organ when both were brand new. The movie that we're showing is Wings, which actually won an Academy Award the first year the Academy Awards were given in 1929. It was given the award for Best Picture and Best Visual Effects because of the dogfights. It's a war movie from World War I. The aviators are flying their planes and having dogfights, and you see the planes actually flying. They didn't backscreen in this movie. When you see the planes flying, you're seeing the actual planes flying. They invented the theater pipe organ as a unit orchestra to replace the big orchestra and the big theaters where the piano wouldn't carry it. And that's what we have here today. All these organs were built in the 1920s. Very few were built outside of that bracket, and for the express purpose of accompanying movies. The organist was expected to provide the soundtrack. By 1929, most all movies were sound. By 1930, they simply weren't making any silent movies anymore. The theaters had had 2 or 3 years to convert over to the new amplification equipment, and the public was expecting there to be sound on their movies. So all of a sudden, these mighty instruments weren't needed anymore. The organ was installed in a theater in Ohio. When the theater closed, the organ was salvaged out of it before the theater was destroyed. And it went to California, is my understanding. I don't know how long it was out there, but it was purchased at one point by the evangelist Billy James Hargis and brought to Tulsa. And he owned about 3 of these organs, and this is the one he used. The other 2 were Wurlitzers, and they were in storage. When he went out of business, which is another story, in the mid-70s, our club, which had been using his organ as a concert instrument for their programs, bought it from him. And then a few years later, in about 1984, I believe, it became available to put into this seminar center as they were building it new. And our club installed the organ in here and still owns it. And it was operational by about 1987. So for the last 20 years, we've had a working pipe organ in this building. You walk into this room, you have no idea that there's a pipe organ here, because the console behind me is locked away in a garage, and the chambers where the pipes are on either side of the proscenium arch are, all you see is louvers. So many, if not most people that come in here are totally unaware that we have an 80-year-old vintage working theater pipe organ of 13 ranks in this room. This is the blower that provides the wind for the 2 pipe chambers, 10 horsepower, and I'm not sure how many cubic feet of air a minute it provides, but it's a monster. This is what we call the north chamber, and it's a great deal of the accompaniment pipes are in here. Plus we have one of the xylophones is here. This is one of the lowest pipes on the organ. You can cause it to come on by triggering the valve. And what it does, if you put a dollar bill here, the smallest pipes in the organ are this size here, about the size of a pencil. So you've got them all the way from 16 feet all the way down to just a very few inches. Also has regulators and tremulos. Here's a tremulant going right here. That gives the vibrato or tremulant sound when the organ is being played. When the organ is played, you don't want to be in here. It's very, very loud. Some of the monster organs have pipes that are 32 feet long. Our longest pipe is 16 feet. And I'll show you one of these 16 feet pipes. It doesn't have to be stretched all the way out. This is the lowest note on one of our reed ranks. As you can see, it comes up, down, and up again. If you straightened it out, you'd find it was 16 feet long. This is a metal pipe. And then we have our wooden pipes over here. Once again, it's folded over on itself, but you can tell it's going to be also 16 feet long if it were straightened out. This is the solo, or the south chamber. We got our bass drum here. We've got castanets and tambourine and our auga horn. We got some sleigh bells. Lots of pipes, hundreds of pipes in all different configurations, depending on the type of sound that they make. And up there by the swell shutters, you see our other xylophone. This was added when it was put into our location here. This allows us, this replaces a relay that was quite trouble prone in the early organs. It's all handled electronically. The console is original, the pipes are original. What connects them together now is handled by solid state. But this is some of the original wiring, cotton covered, and it's quite old. As we replace this, as we work on it, we're trying to replace this cotton covered wire, even though it's doing okay now. You have a great deal of leverage on the type of sounds you can produce from the organ just using the presets, or you're free to come up and change the tabs as you wish for whatever sound you're trying to get. And they can change quite quickly from soft to loud when you're accompanying a movie with a lot of action in it. We've got an auga horn. You won't find that in your church.